Previously on Project SeaCamel.
And that is the first piece. Throw it away. Epoxy is still a little floppy. This night's job was to make this insulation box, or just to assemble these polystyrene boards. I just need to make a few supports in the middle, and that's about it. It should be enough to keep the heat inside well enough. And now this allows me to do these frames during the winter before I get the insulation here. Today it was quite a warm day actually, but now when the sun has set, it's actually pretty chilly already. Yeah, it's gonna be a cold night. Couple of more preparations still to be done, and one of them is underneath here. A couple of days ago I got a new batch of epoxy, this green turtle stuff. It's a more sustainable stuff, biomaterial based epoxy, and I might get a deal with them with this boat project, which would be awesome. Let's now take a look what's underneath here. It's cozy 24 degrees underneath here. Outside temperature is 11 degrees Celsius. And we can check here. The minimum temperature outside has been 2.7 degrees Celsius. So it's good to have this insulated box. So if we try here, yeah, this actually has been cured. So if we take a look at here, there is the heater radiator. Now I can turn it off. And here we can see the temperatures, and the humidity is 49%, which is pretty good. And here is the filler piece, trial number 2. And yeah, this feels pretty much solid. And I actually have the cup in here. This has been outside of the box, so let's try this as well. A bit sticky, but not that much. Totally different result than with the previous epoxy. Now I should get this off from here and plane it down, and then machine this with the CNC to get the filler pieces out of this. And this of course is the first thing to do still, and the second thing is right here. So I made this glue up with some MDF board I have left over. Here's 4 slots. And this will be machined with the CNC to fit these slats in there. With this template or jig, what you might call this, I can always put it back in the precise place in the CNC so that I can cut ends of these slats into shape like this, like a puzzle shape. I hope this works. So, couple of things to do with the CNC before we can get into the glue up of the frame. Bit of squeeze out underneath there, but it feels very solid. Now I think I'll just plane this down. This time I have plenty of thickness, so shouldn't be a problem. And here we go. It still scares a lot to make a cut like this, so deep and so aggressive. But yeah, it went well. Nothing really went wrong. Now just remove these from here and all the parts are done. A bit of a difference depending which way the grain goes. Not sure if you can see it from the video, but yeah, this is smooth as baby's butt, and this is grainy like, well, someone else's. Yeah, just a bit sanding, this is all right. After a bit of sanding, these are done, and just look at this accuracy. They are exactly the same size and shape. So now the first program should just put the 4 holes on the corners so that I can drill it down into the spoil board. The next program should shape these in here to make the correct width for every part here. And the third program will do the actual cutting of the shapes of the slats. So, a little bit afraid what's gonna happen, but let's try this now. Whoops. Okay, that was a bit of smoke. This kind of blade is really not meant to do drill. It must be much, much faster. Quite a bit of smoke. And maybe slower even. Let's try it again. Slower spindle speed, much faster feed rate. Little bit violent. Oh, there was something wrong. Something wrong with my program. It went far back there. I think that's enough. I'm gonna drill those by hand. It's a bit too violent for me. All right, now it's in place, and the idea, of course, is that I can always put this back on the very same spot, with the same holes, so I can drive these things again and again. Fingers crossed. Alright, now it's done, and I'm pretty surprised how well the compression bit kept the dust in pretty much order. There's not really much dust all over the place. Now it's finished, and now I just need to clean this up a little bit, then we can try it. Right, now it looks clean, and let's try to fit these slats in so you can get the idea. A bit tight. Exactly 57 millimeters. Yeah, they are 57.5 almost. Maybe I'll adjust the program so that I made this half millimeter wider and they should fit there. Just a moment. All right, now I cut half millimeter off from this. Now this should fit. Yep, there they go. Oh, these go very well in there. Like so. Yeah, these are perfect. Now they should be in there. I am a bit excited because I had quite a bit of thought. How should I make these joints? And well, this is what I came up with. So far looks quite promising. Let's see. Here it goes. Here we have. Looks pretty good. And now these should fit together perfectly. There is no tolerances whatsoever with these, so they are pretty tight. Just a little bit too tight, I think. Okay. Yeah, it's just a little bit too tight. So I need to make a little bit of a tolerance here to make this a bit smaller and this a tiny bit larger, but otherwise this looks very, very good. And I think this method works very well as well. With this I can make quite a bunch of these at one go. Here it goes. Look at that. Now this thing is figured out, which is great, but now I have a tool for making these joints and do it quite easily. Started raining. Let's finally get into this actual frame. The idea behind all this is that I don't have to glue them beforehand, so I can just put them in here and push them in place and they should stay together while the glue is hardening. But some additional things I need to do. I hope you can see that when the frame inside surface comes in here, and here's the filler piece we just did. The first slat actually stops right there. So I need to cut the first slat here so it can go right here. And the next few slats are ending somewhere around here. So I need to cut a bunch of these slats beforehand so that they fit right from here all around into the corresponding place on the other side. So there is a tolerance of 2 to 4 centimeters maybe. But of course another thing is that I don't obviously want those joints to be at the same spot. So right now the first full slat ends somewhere around here and the next one starts here, and I'm gonna cut it right over there. And I can always do another batch of cutting these joints. It really doesn't matter if they are long or short. I can always do the ends and kind of use all of the slats. And some of them have these annoying knots like these, and I'm quite confident they're gonna break from those points if they go into this curved section of the frame. Bit of a fiddling, but I think I'm gonna manage this. We're so close already to make the first piece. It went actually smoother than I expected. Nothing really broke, but oh my dumb head. Few of these are a bit too short. There's a bit of a gap going here and I can fill it up later. But now the slats for this face should be here, and now I can start making the slats that extend all the way to there. Here the slats are in their position. They bent on their place surprisingly easy. There is one issue though now. It's now almost midnight. The temperatures has dropped below 10 degrees Celsius and the relative humidity is over 90% right now. So I can feel that these wood pieces are a bit damp right now. I'm thinking I'm gonna leave this for a day now like this, put the insulation box around here and put the heater on inside there. So I think that should dry them up a little bit and then help them to form in their place. Now I think everything should be quite ready for the lamination tomorrow. What I did today were the last small things that took hours, of course. But as you can see, there's now plastic sheeting on the table. Then I also checked the table once again if it's level, and I decided to add a few legs in the middle. There was a bit of a dip in here, maybe a couple of millimeters, but still. And now it's checked with laser. It should be within a millimeter flat, this table now. And the frame mold is now on its place. There is plastic covers in the mold pieces here. All the rods are now in and there's nuts on the other side. And the slats have now been on their shape for one day, and I'm gonna put them again for tonight and for tomorrow. Everything feels quite good right now. Everything kind of works quite well, I think. One thing I want to show you is just this small detail of when you're doing these kind of things with CNC. You can see this accuracy of these pieces, and yeah. Looking forward tomorrow, the first piece of the boat. I still can't believe it, really. I have probably said this earlier, but it has now been kind of days and days of work just preparing everything for this moment. And most of that stuff is stuff I don't have to do again. So after this has been done, I can really focus on making the next one. And there is really nothing much more to do with all the additional stuff around it. Yeah, my mindset goal is not to build a boat, but produce it. So keeping that in mind. But now I'm going home and get some sleep, and tomorrow we'll laminate this. What a night it was. What you just saw was some footage from last night when we laminated this first frame during a live session. And yeah, I am totally exhausted, my arms hurt, and yeah, it was much longer than I thought it would be. But here it is. It's not perfect. There was a few quite important issues, and I'm gonna go through them right now. The first was that I had a very serious brain fart, and I put this heater during the previous night to heat up the materials and stuff in there, but I put it upside down so that the resistor that heats up the oil inside here was on the top side here, and it melted and braked itself. So yeah, this is brand new and it's now useless. I didn't have a heater anymore, but it's all right. It was around 9 degrees last night, and right now, 12 hours later, it's 17 degrees in here. So it is actually pretty warm, and the epoxy has cured quite well. Here is a cup of filler stuff I did, just epoxy and sawdust, and it's pretty hard. It's still a bit bendy, so it hasn't really cured hard yet. But it's not sticky anymore, and I think the lamination pretty much was a success anyway. Another quite big issue was these rods. These are cut from longer pieces, of course. Here you can see the factory end in which the nut goes pretty well, but the other ends are the problem. I cut these and I filed them so that the nut would go there, but the problem is that there is still a bit of remains of that cut, and especially when you hit them with hammer, they tend to bend down, and there was quite a few of those where I just couldn't get the nut in. So the upside down pressure is not consistent, and I couldn't get it perfectly there. And that is a problem, of course. It won't be a perfect result without that. A third problem really was just not enough preparation and thinking. First of all, it took very long time, much longer than I thought, to apply the epoxy. I think it took over 2 hours. It's okay, it was cold enough so that the epoxy didn't start to really cure in that time. I had plenty of working time, but what it did was that it started to gel just a bit and became pretty sticky. To push them down into the same level required substantial force. So I don't know if I got it completely right. Fourth problem was that you can't really see it right now, maybe later on, but there is these inside corners, there is a few slats that end in particular spot. That was quite difficult to align when there was epoxy everywhere. So that was a bit of a problem, and I need to tackle that better next time. Now I'm just gonna put a new heater in there, put the insulated box around and let it cure for a few days. And then I'm gonna go and make these perfect for good, so that the nut goes without any issues on both sides, so that I can hit them with hammer without damaging the threads. That is a very annoying problem when you're in a hurry and trying to get the nut on and it doesn't go, and it's so frustrating. For general notes, making this big of a lamination is a pretty substantial job to do at once. So I really need to develop these techniques to apply the epoxy and work more quickly, and to align things when the epoxy is on there, and so that I can pretty quickly get the clamps there and adjust them, and so that everything is clear what to do when the epoxy is there. Always learning something. There was moments that I was totally exhausted and was kind of just, I don't know, almost quit the job in the middle, but well, it took 6 hours and it was 3 o'clock in the morning when it was ready. Of course, I'm not doing it live anymore for now on. I appreciate everyone who watched the live yesterday, so it was kind of fun. This is probably the worst place. The top piece hasn't really pushed down enough. And you can see the nut is missing here. I couldn't get it in.
Look what I found! It looks like a boat frame. I can already see quite a few mistakes, but don't let that disturb you. This was a huge effort and I learned much already. Okay, here is the first frame. You can probably now see the size of it. The dinghy should fit between here into the dinghy garage. Looks okay, I think, for the first try. So what I'm thinking now is that I'm not gonna do this again, even though there is quite a few spots that didn't go very well. The biggest issue is the top layer, the plywood layer on top here. It is loose in some spots, like in here and on the other end and here, and yeah, it is not attached. There was not enough downwards clamps attached because of the issue with the rods and the nuts. But the bottom layer looks very, very good. There is really not that much of an issues there. If you don't count the mistake I made when I ripped off it from the table. I was a little bit too aggressive and anxious to get it off. So yeah, I ripped off some pieces. It wasn't the fault of the glue up, it was my fault. But yeah, I can probably fix these pretty easily. But what I'm thinking now is that I'm gonna shape the frame like this, because the shape is very good. It is very accurate and it feels very, very good. And the top layer is on right spot, even though it hasn't been glued up in all positions. So I'm gonna shape the frame with this, and then I'm probably gonna rip this top layer off completely. The top layer is the layer that was on the top side on the table, but it will be the side that is backwards to the transom. So the transom will be glued against this. So I don't really need this here, and it doesn't matter if the boat is 6.5 millimeters shorter, or then I just put some spacer layers between here. So that's about it. Now I'm not gonna do the shaping now. I'm gonna purchase some better tools to do that. And now I'm starting to think of the next frame. I really can't believe that this is actually the first part of the boat. It feels out of this world, really. But yeah, it was a success, I think. The system works. Just few minor things to tweak and do better and be a little bit more careful with those. At this point, I don't really know how many videos there has been. When you're watching this, probably at least 2, maybe 3 videos. But for this video, I thank you for watching. This is really awesome progress, and now I'm starting to really build the boat as quickly as I can and start ordering more materials. And yeah, stick with the project, subscribe, give me a like, comment down below, congratulate me for the first part. This is really exciting, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye!